is that what you're doing right now, what we're doing by being in this place at this very moment is brand new. And it's young, and it's fresh, and it's building these bridges. It's helping people not only get over the troubled waters of their transitions, but it's also giving us a clear vision. There's so many wonderful things for us to enjoy within our lives. Yes, we've looked at this from different directions. We've been told other things. Sometimes people will say, well, if you don't believe in an afterlife, then why, how can you live? How can you live with all the pain and suffering that goes on in this life? And I'll admit, I'll be the first one to tell you that once you've believed that you're going to see Momo and Papa again, right? And that once you believe that Paul and I will share not just 60 or 70 or 80 years, but we'll share 1,000, 1,000,000, 1,000,000,000 years. You've got to understand, that young man is all I ever wanted in my life. My father was killed whenever I was 3 years old. And I thought about that father-son relationship my entire life. And when Paul Aaron came into my life, suddenly that part of me developed that became concerned about the future, became concerned about making sure these relationships last forever. And it's difficult. Letting go of that moment, moving away from that idea, from that hope, from that dream, from that very comforting dream. I think about it. I'm just that kind of crazy person. I think about my last few days. I think about my last few moments. I think about, if I'm fortunate enough, laying there in the bed, knowing that death is not far away, and having Paul standing next to my side, and his face being the last thing that I see in this life. I think those kind of thoughts. And I know how important it is to carry with that thought, to add on top of that thought, but it's okay because I'm going to close my eyes and then I'm going to wake up again, and there he's going to be. And we'll celebrate forever and ever and ever. We'll enjoy our time together for forever. And it's comforting and it feels good. And so, is there an antidote for that? I describe it much like saying it's as if you took your penny and scratched off the silver, and at first you thought it said $1 million. And then under further investigation, you see it actually says $1,000. And everybody's like, oh, but you're getting $1,000. Isn't that great? And you're like, no, that's not that great. I thought I was getting $1 million. I thought I was going to get to have Paul forever. I thought I was going to get to meet my dad. I thought I was going to get to be with my grandfather again. I thought I'd get to spend time with my grandmother, the time I hadn't been able to spend in this life. And so, no, scratching it off and saying, but isn't the river pretty? Isn't the sunset beautiful? It's hard. It's a hard transition to make. But the reality of it is that we are young. This movement, this thought, this concept is so young. And I'm sorry that you and I have to be the transitional people, but what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to delight in being alive in such a way that the next generation, the next father who has a son, and the next son who watches his father pass away, they won't have thought the way that we thought. They won't live through the experience of thinking it was 1,000,000, but it was 1,000. Instead, they will grow up in a world where they are delighting in the beauty of this nature and the awesome experience of actually being here. Because they're going to grow up educated with the fact that, as we heard at the very beginning of the presentation, just the idea that we are here is phenomenal because it didn't have to happen. But we are here and we are experiencing this incredible, incredible moment. And without all of these other layers of lofty ideas, without all of this superstition laid on top of our thought process, we're also going to learn how to delight in being alive by enjoying the diversity. And those family members that you're hoping that you might get to spend time with in eternity when they're no longer as much of the rear end. Because somehow the elevator ride on the way up cures them when they step out. We're going to build a bridge over these troubled waters of diversity. We're going to create a clearer vision of how wonderful it is to be diverse and to be tolerant. And there's going to be generations that are going to grow up understanding and appreciating diversity like the human race has never seen before. And all of those little oddities will be beautiful works of art. Whenever we're able to actually stop, and have you ever had this experience of where all of a sudden, all of your troubles seem to literally just fade away for a moment. Your attention becomes completely centered on the fact that you're really alive. And it may immediately be followed by the sensation of, oh crap, I'm really going to die. Anybody ever felt that feeling? And it is amazing how the mind works, right? That's this phenomenal experience of being present and being in the moment. Whenever I was growing up, my grandmother was the dietitian of a nursing home that was about a 40-acre tract away from our house. And so one of my favorite things to do as a young man, a skinnier man, far less lazy man, as a child, is I would run through that 40-acre tract, breathing in the dust, breathing in the hay fever is probably why I've got so many allergies now. Running in that sun, feeling the weeds brushing against my face, feeling the sun beating on the back of my head, running at full speed through that 40-acre tract, trying to get to the nursing home where my grandmother was working. Because when I got there, she was going to pull me to the side, pull me into the kitchen. This was back before there were so many rules and life was so complicated that a little sweaty 8-year-old could be in the kitchen. You know? She would pull me into the nursing home's kitchen. She would open the pantry door, and there was this little red stool. Even by then, already the paint wore off around the edges. Little red metal stool. And she would set me in that corner, set me in that pantry, and I'd watch them work, and it was hot as 80s in there, you know. And I would listen to these older ladies who were running in this nursing home. I'd listen to them gossip. They'd talk about all of the patients and talk about life. And then eventually, and this was the reward, she would see how hot and tired I was, and she would walk me through the nursing home, passing patients that I had grown up knowing, like Billy, that had been born with severe disabilities and had lived her entire life in the nursing home. Wasn't able to utter a complete word, but her expressions would light up the room. And when I would see her from the distance and she would see me, her face, she was crippled up in the wheelchair, and she would look up and her face would light. And there was this beautiful connection. And I would talk to Billy for a moment, and then I would talk to the older lady that was in the very back of the nursing home who was always screaming about there was this black cat. There was no black cat. And eventually we would make our way to the Coke machine. And at the Coke machine, I would finally get my reward for running through the field. I started my life off thinking about death and thinking about old age and being exposed to diversity. But I was set up for a certain amount of failure, as it were, by not being taught just how important that one single moment is. That moment with Billy. Billy's life wasn't necessarily the most pleasant, but Billy experienced it. Billy saw the universe, and the universe got to see Billy. She got to experience the beauty. They would take and roll her out onto the porch at the back of the nursing home, and you could see her face light up whenever the sun would begin to rest upon her frail body. She felt nature and enjoyed nature. So much diversity, so much beauty in nature, so many fantastic and important moments. This is what you're doing. This is what you're doing here. I know it sounds preachery and it feels weird, you know. But I think you're safe since we're not passing the plate. This is what you're doing. You are reshaping how future generations are going to look at life. Think about that for a moment. The influence that you're having. Sometimes you may feel completely alone, but you're strong enough to do this even if you're alone. You're not going to stay alone. Look at this community. These chairs are full today. And there's literally hundreds of people just for this one event throughout the entire country that have connected with us and said, bring that event to our state. Bring that event to our part of the country. Do what you're doing here. You've got this huge family, but even if you didn't, your one voice, your one life is able to emphasize the beauty of reality, the beauty of diversity, and the beauty of this special moment that we call being alive. And by you expressing that, by you being strong enough to be different, handling the criticisms, not quite fitting in, maybe losing loved ones, maybe losing favor, maybe challenging your financial situation, by being brave enough and strong enough to do that, you are changing how people will look at life. Because what you're doing one day will become normal. Isn't that fascinating? That's a good place for a hand clap. What you're doing one day will become normal. Children will be born, and parents will hold and cradle these beautiful gifts. And instead of allowing their mind to be flooded with the idea that this is just a dress rehearsal, I can make up the difference in another life and another time. Instead, they're going to be captivated by the moment. They're going to be captivated by the natural miracle, if you will, of that child being in their arms. And that child may grow up and may have a total different sexual orientation than the parent, but they're going to naturally revel and delight in diversity. That child's going to be free to express his or herself for who he truly is. Not fitting into a mold, but enjoying their own expression. That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. That's who you are. That's the place that you're playing in history. And so what we've seen is that there are tools that exist. There are tools that are natural byproducts of how humans interact with each other. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to simply pull from that tool chest and use what's at our disposal to make this happen and to make it happen quicker. This is you. This is you. This isn't about me. This isn't about a book. This is about your ability. This is about your ability. Your strength, together or alone, to make a difference. So I know it's going to break your heart, but I'm closing.